Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of We Listen and We Judge. Today, we have a remote format. So, we will be switching between these two, being in person together and also like video chat style because we both live in different places and it's just more convenient. So, hopefully, you like this format. It's not weird for you. And we are going to do this every now and then, but try to be in person as much. So, hi, Mom. Good to see you.
Hi, Brandy. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. So, today we are talking about budgeting. Today's episode is B is for budget, aka B is for Brandy is bad at budgeting. So, I will be judging myself very harshly today about my budgeting habits. I'm working on it, getting better and improving, but I will say, as somebody who makes a good amount of money, I can spend a good amount of money too. And we will be also getting a lot of tips from Mom because she's really good with money. She's very financially savvy. So it'll be good to hear her point of view. And we have different, paths of life. So I'm about to be 30 next year. Still haven't purchased my first home. A lot of that is due to not knowing where I want to set my roots and where I want to live permanently. But a good bit is also I need to get my budgeting together and decide what I want to do. So I'm going to let Mom talk about her experience and where she was at 29, and we'll go into budgeting.
Okay, I have to make a quick correction. On our first episode, I couldn't get my date straight. I said that I finished my doctoral degree in 2009 and we were married for 9 years. I had that wrong. I did finish it in 2009, but we were married for 13 years. We had gotten married in 1996 and I switched careers in 2000. I started in education, got my doctoral degree in 2009. So I just want to clear that up because my math wasn't math. And then when I listened back to the recording of our podcast, I said, oh my gosh, I had my time frame all wrong, which is important for today anyway, because in 1996, when we got married, we lived in my hometown for about 4 years. And then in 2000, we bought our first house. Brandy was 4 years old when we purchased our first home, and Daniel was just born. Both of us worked in education, and educators don't make a ton of money. So the key to that was budgeting. So I'll just start off with what we did and why it's important to set your goals and determine exactly what you want to do with your discretionary income. Because if you don't have a plan for your discretionary income, you will end up spending it all. And it could keep you from saving some key amounts of money that can help you in big purchases like your first home. So in 1994, that's the year I graduated from high school. In fact, I was still working at McDonald's, and I had worked at McDonald's since I was 15 years old. And I had some little short-term goals that I wanted to achieve. So I would take all the hours that I could get on the weekends and even some school nights, because my first major purchase was my class ring. And then I decided I wanted to be able to buy a car. And my dad had told me if I could save $1,000, he would go with me to try to purchase a cash car or either get me a car where I could make low monthly payments. So, back in the day, my car was like $83 a month, which that's unheard of right now. So I set my goals to make my first little car payment at $3 a month. My parents did take care of the insurance. So I worked, and I would figure out like how many hours I had to put in each week to make sure I had the money for my car, to make sure I had my lunch money for school, to make sure I had my school clothes, class ring, my senior pictures, prom stuff, anything that I was trying to do. So I set those short-term goals. And I figured back then it was just for the little things that I was trying to take care of at the time. But what I didn't realize was I would be using those same strategies later as an adult. So my advice to those who are just getting started with budgeting is have a plan. Make sure you set goals for how you want to spend your money. My mom used to tell us all the time, you can only spend $1 one way, and that is so true. So once you set your goals, then come up with a plan, an action plan on how you are going to meet those goals. So, for example, if your home is, if you want to make a home purchase, then I suggest you take a look at all of your spending habits, keep receipts, look at even little small things like Doordashes and things that could eat up your budget, and before you know it, you've spent way more than you had intended to spend. Because you know DoorDash do add a little additional amount to your food budget when you could just get in the car, run over, and go get it. So those types of things you have to be mindful of, and they could break a budget quicker than anything. Also, I suggest if you're not a spreadsheet person, that's okay. You could just use any kind of document to keep up with your spending habits. Now, the banks even have budgeting software built into the online banking software, so you could just log in and set that up. I know the bank that I bank with, it allows you to see the money coming in, coming out, and set goals and spending within that. So I suggest using those types of tools as well. But the main thing, like I said, is tracking your spending. See what you're doing with your money. You know what your set bills are every month. So it's going to be that discretionary income that'll get you every time when you're spending your money on, like I said, things like DoorDash, or I'm going to a party, let me get another dress, or I want these shoes for this concert, or just things like that that come up. And before you know it, you're cutting deeply into your budget. So just think about what's most essential, and you'll have to do some give and take. You have to make some decisions about how you want to spend your money.
Good. Another thing that comes into play is like different emergency funds. I think that's a good thing to have. So setting up a account just for when you have to get your car fixed. Everybody doesn't take into account that, your tires might need fixing randomly. You might get a nail in your tire, your air conditioner might stop. I know recently I had to get my air compressor fixed and that was 1400 to fix that. That was a crazy amount of money, but luckily I did have a pension from one of the jobs that I used to work at. And I used some of that money to go towards fixing my car because at this point I don't have a car payment. That also helps a lot too with saving money, is just not buying extremely large purchases. I know for me, I do like to spend a good bit on travel and food and clothes, but I also don't make huge purchases. I don't buy like a lot of designer. If I do, it's gonna be like a black owned designer like Hanifa or Brandon Blackwood, but I'm not gonna buy a bunch of like Gucci. Also switch from, wearing weave to getting the locks, and bundles are pricey. I was actually looking again to see like, hey, maybe I'll get another wig. It's been a long time. And I saw those prices. I was like, I cannot believe I used to pay that much on the regular, but now wearing my real hair and actually doing it myself has cut a lot of that maintenance too. I see a lot of people talk about girl maintenance, and it can be very expensive to be a girl. If you get your nails done, if you keep up with makeup, if you keep up with all the latest trends, that stuff adds up, and you really need a very high paying job living in a low cost of living area in order to afford a lot of that. For myself, I also put a lot of money towards like savings accounts and 401k, and also started a managed account so I can get up my investments. And with that, I noticed that as I let it build, I'm starting to have a lot more money saved up, ready for retirement, or ready for my home purchase, but it has taken some sacrifices. I can't just go on the weekend and go to a different city as much as I used to. I know when I first got my first big job and started making some real money, I was traveling like crazy that year, like going to the spa, going to different places. I think I went to two different countries in 1 year, to Jamaica, Panama, and it felt good, but the bank account did not look good. Transparency, I realized, okay, I need to plan this out and start being a little bit more financially sound or financially astute. and look at different ways to cut costs. So I kind of try to build up my points when it comes to where I stay. And also, it has been a great option. And I'll go a little bit more about that on episode 4 because we're going to do travel talk to help people who want to travel and do it for a lower cost. But I know right now my main focus is budgeting and trying to save up more money and save more in my regular savings account as well as my high yield savings account. So what I've been doing lately, because it helps also with losing weight, is I'm not going out as much to restaurants. I'm cooking my own meals during the week. I try not to indulge in the food trucks that we have at work, and I'll either have like yogurt for lunch or a snack, and then come home and cook my dinner. So that's helping a lot too. Is being conscious of what I'm eating and how much I'm spending on my food. I still DoorDash every now and then. Sometimes I get too tired to go out, especially when I've been working all day, then go to the gym. Sometimes you get tired, but now instead of getting it delivered to my home, I'm trying to switch to pickup. And with pickup, you don't have to pay the delivery fee, so that helps a lot too. Can you go into some details about some of the things you did to purchase your first home besides saving? Was there other hacks that you used to
Yes.
get the home?
Well, one thing that I would suggest to every young person starting out, if you make a commitment with, let's say, a credit card, or if you go to Case Jeweler and you buy a necklace and you have payment plans, pay on time. It is important with your credit to have 100% on time payments. And you might say to yourself, oh, I'll pay it like 5 days later when I get paid again. Well, make sure everything that you owe is set up on a payment plan time frame where if the due date is on the 12th, you make sure you pay it on time. I will not wait 5, 10 days. So on time payments is critical to your credit, because when you are purchasing your home, the major factor is credit. Credit is better than money sometimes. It wasn't like we had these huge salaries or was making a whole lot of money, but we had very good credit. Another thing that I would suggest to anybody who is considering purchasing a home is do all of your homework. Look at interest rates, look at the homes on the market, determine, what is it that you want, and know exactly what you want. Then look at how much money you'll be spending toward that mortgage payment. Will you have money left over for food, to do fun things from time to time, because you don't want to be house poor to the point where you have to stay home all the time because all of your money is going toward that home purchase. So you have to make some decisions about what exactly it is you want. How does that fit within your everyday life? Is my house note gonna smuggle me, or say smother me? I'm sorry. Is it gonna smother me, or will I be able to still have a quality of life? So I would sit down and I would write out all these things that I desire. Look around, look at the market, look at the percentage rates. Talk to several banks. You don't have to just talk to one person. Talk to several banks or mortgage lenders about interest rates for home purchases. What are they offering? Look into first time home buyer programs. Back then that stuff wasn't around, so, or it wasn't, we just didn't know it. But now that I know a little bit more about those types of things, I would look into first time home buyer programs. There may be some type of assistance that you can get for a first time home buyer. Another thing that I would tell new home buyers is, if you don't have to get an FHA loan, don't do it, because that mortgage insurance that goes toward the NIP, that is doing absolutely nothing for you. That mortgage insurance for the FHA loan, all of that is saying, if you don't pay your mortgage, then that kicks in some kind of way. But if you don't pay your mortgage, then your home will be repossessed anyway. We didn't find out that ahead of time, and we paid for about, I think it was about 3 or 4 years, that FHA mortgage insurance before we refinanced and got out from under that. That money was really going nowhere. It's kind of like going into a car dealership and putting down a down payment. I don't know if many of you know this, but that down payment is worthless. There's no point in doing that, because that none of that money is going toward reducing the cost of your vehicle.
Right.
for all kinds of other things. So do your research on that as well. If you can get a conventional loan without having to have that mortgage insurance, I suggest you look into that. Make sure you get a good agent, get a good real estate agent, get a good mortgage company.
And speaking of real estate agents, I can't wait till we do a little bit more of a deep dive on real estate because I have a friend, Amber Jennings. She is in real estate now. So I'm looking to bring her on the pod and talk to us a lot more. She can sell homes in Florida and Georgia. So that'd be helpful for any of our viewers that are looking to purchase soon.
Yes.
But I think a big one you hit on was the car loan thing. Like I never knew that when you are going to buy a car, the down payment really doesn't go towards the actual, payment. I personally never bought a car before because, daddy got us our first cars. And I would say part of that, I'm like very grateful, very thankful that you guys made sure we had everything we wanted and everything we needed. Things like that does put you in a deficit when it comes to knowing how to budget. I remember going to college and I'm like, oh, okay, I got all this money from the graduation party and all the gifts. And within the second semester, most of that was gone because I'm spending it. I'm going out to dinner. I don't have a job. I'm just living my best life. I'm like thinking I'm on Housewives or something like in Atlanta, going out with my friends all the time. And I just realized like once you kind of get into your own adulthood and be responsible for some of the bills, if you don't know what you're doing, you can easily become a very, what is the word? Just bad with money, bad with budgeting, bad with spending. And in that era of my life, I was really bad. I wanted to go out all the time and I had a meal plan, but sometimes I wanted to eat different things off site. And I realized it was okay to cut back. And I was just used to my parents paying for everything. So I wasn't up to speed on what it looks like when you pay for things yourself. Like I do appreciate dad looking out for us with the first car. Like I still have my first car, but I know I'm a little ignorant to what it's gonna be like to actually purchase it. I now actually pay for my car insurance, so that's a big step. And I have not missed any payments there. That's one thing about me. Even with being bad with budgeting, I do not miss out on bills. I don't miss out on payments. But I will say I am scared for my first car payment and trying to get more information about what I need to do is very helpful for me.
One thing I would say too is budgeting is about choices. And I don't know that most people see the psychology of it, but it really is about choices. Like I said, Mama used to tell us all the time, a dollar can only be spent once. And that is so critical to budgeting. When you make those decisions with your money, you can't unmake them most of the time. You've bought that, and that's why buyer's remorse is such a big thing because you spent that money and now you know you can't get it back. You have to live with that decision that you've made. But thinking about just the decisions that you make with your money, part of budgeting is just reflecting. I would say take some time to reflect on how your money is being spent. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to put that in a graph, a pie graph, or, and I don't do all of this stuff, but I do it mentally. I don't do it physically. I do have a spreadsheet so that I can always see what's coming in, what's going out. And like I said, the banks now have tools for that if you do online banking, but I just still like to keep up with it myself. But you can see I'm quite simple. I don't spend a lot of money on a lot of different things, really. We travel and we'll talk about that later, but that's pretty much where my discretionary income is going, is to travel. I'm the one that's gonna buy the jeans at Walmart. I'm gonna probably get the cheap little necklace and have to get another one later because it's gonna turn if I get it wet too many times. But I'm real simple. I can't wear makeup because it makes my face break out. So I don't have to spend a bunch of money on makeup. So there's not a whole lot of things that my discretionary income is going toward, with the exception of I don't really like to cook that much. But that's part of our food budget. We just decide, you know. And for me, we talked about our health last week. I have to eat a little bit more expensively than most people would. I won't be found in too many McDonald's drive-throughs for dinner because I have to stay away from the salt content. So it have to be somebody cooking grilled veggies or fresh veggies, non-processed meats. But all of that has to be budgeted as well because, like I said, those things are much more expensive than just going through the fast food line. But yeah, it's all about choices. It's the psychology of it all. You have to think through the choices that you're making with your money. If you like high brand items, if you like expensive jewelry, my husband has a watch fetish. Like he has a billion watches. And that's where his discretionary income is going to go. He's going to get a new watch like every 4 months, 5 months, or whatever. But for me, there's not a whole lot of major purchases other than going to get my hair twisted, washed and steamed. That's in my budget because I make sure I hate washing my own hair. I love getting in Dominique's chair. She's an amazing hairdresser. I hate washing my own hair. And so that's a part of my budget. But other than that, when you think about the psychology of it all, there's not a whole lot of things that I have money going toward. So when I decide, hey, I want to, like when Brandy turned, I think it was 27, we went to Belize for her birthday. And I was like, hey, we'll just do the villas for you. When I make those types of decisions, the money is there because I've not made a whole lot of little decisions along the way with my money that has caused me to spend a whole lot of money. Every now and then, like my husband, I'll get invited to a party and then I'll say, yeah, I want to get a new dress and I'll get a new dress and some shoes. Then I'll wear it a couple of more times somewhere else. So just thinking through those types of things. Are you the one that has to have a new dress or a new outfit every time you go to a major event? Those types of things add up. So think through that. Are you the type of person that love the Gucci, Louis, Prada? As Brandy said, she gets some major brands that she'll support, but not really. Well, she's probably like that because we're not really like that. We don't do that either. But if you do, just think about that is cutting into your budget and that is keeping you from doing some major things that you want to do, especially if it's quite often that you're doing those things. If you add those expensive items up, think about how close you could have been to a monthly house payment. So it's about choices. You have to really think through how are you spending your money and have those receipts, set some goals, and then determine a little bit at a time which goal do you want to reach first. You may have to take a few things away and just decide, hey, I'm not going to buy the latest game coming out if you're a gamer. I'm not going to buy the new shoes coming out if you're a sneakerhead. I'm going to skip it this time. If you take that money and you put it in a high yield savings account, when you skip something like that, you would be surprised at how fast it grows. Right now, high yield savings is paying anywhere from 3.5 to 4%. Last time I checked, I have one with Capital One. There's several different companies that you can do that with. But if you take that money and repurpose it into a high yield savings account, you will be surprised at how much you save by the end of the year.
Yeah. For our baby budgeters, I would say I don't do the spreadsheet. I tried that one time and it didn't really work well for me. I just got too off track. But one thing I've started doing is by a certain amount of time, like after about 15 days, 20 days, 25 days, I try to track how much money is in my account and how much I want to have before I go to my next paycheck. I also try to make sure I don't overspend anymore. So I look at what I need versus what I want, track when I might want it, and then save up the money from there. So if I get paid on the 30th, I want to have at least $1,000 left in my bank account. Then I can make the purchase of a want. But if I don't have it, then I have to skip out on it. So there is sacrifice when it comes to budgeting. It really sucks. And the biggest thing you're going to do in order to have a good budget that I can tell you is make sure you are getting good raises. A lot of times you stay with the same company, you're going to get a 3% raise. But putting yourself in a position to get an actual new position, even with the same company, will give you a higher raise. Usually, when you get a promotion to a new job, or either you might go to a new company, you can negotiate a higher salary for yourself. You want to continue to get higher income, and that will help with your budget. But just keep in mind, once you get that higher income, don't automatically increase your spending. Try to stay on the same amount of spending once you get that higher income. I know personally I am very bad about that. Like once I got my raise here in Brunswick, I was like, okay, I'm making a good bit of money. It's gonna be cheaper than Florida. But I forgot about Florida only has federal income tax. Georgia has federal income and state income tax. So I'm looking at my check and I'm saying to myself, okay, I got a $15,000 raise, but where's the money? The money is not there. And so I had to readjust myself because I'm thinking, oh, yeah, I got more money. I'm about to do more. I realized that's not a good mindset to have. I would like to save more money now. So I do save a little bit more than what I did when I had the other job. But I realized, okay, if I am going to ever get on track and have everything I want and need, I do have to budget and I have to readjust what I'm spending my money on. I can't just increase my spending just because I have a higher position or more money.
And I think it's human nature really for your income to become your cost of living. And that's why I said, psychology, you have to really think about the choices that you're making with your money so that your income does not equal your cost of living. Because that can happen. Income goes up, cost of living goes up. If you do, like Brandy said, get that raise or that new job that's paying a little bit more, think about how you can maintain the status of spending so that you can save for bigger purchases or items that you want later in life.
I will also recommend people look at where they're living too. A lot of people complain about the housing situation, and it is really bad. I'm not gonna lie. Rent constantly increases, but wages are not increasing. So you have to take into account that you don't want your living and your housing to be most of what you spend either. I say for me personally, I have a 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, but I also only spend about maybe 18% to 20% on renting. So even though homeownership is better, I think for me, I'm doing the right thing until I decide where I want to live permanently because I'm not sure if I want to live here. So I don't get a super expensive house or super expensive apartment. I'm not saying that I'm just getting a shack and living destitute, but it's nice enough to where I don't have to spend a lot of money on rent. I think my place is actually really nice, really comfy, have great features. It's considered a luxury apartment. It depends on the day, honestly. Some days they're good. Some days it's like I pay too much money for this. But I wouldn't go out and just rent this expensive super 4 bedroom, 4 bathroom. Honestly, for me, that wouldn't make sense. I'm by myself. So people have to look at the choices that they're making. I know the economy is bad. I can't say that, it's not. I know what it's like out there. It's hard. Some months I'm just like, the amount I make is not reflecting the bank account. But I also have to look at my choices. And it's a hard accountability to take because, yeah, we want to cry and say, well, the economy is so bad. The politicians, the corporations are all against us. Yes, they are. And knowing that, don't put yourself in a worse predicament. If you have to crowdfund, which means get with a friend, live with them. You have to do what you got to do in order to be in a good position. Everybody wants to live a great lifestyle, but if that's not your season, you have to do what's best for your finances. Don't continue to put yourself in debt. Don't continue to, live the lifestyle when it's not what's best for you. And I say that even to myself. I know that it's a beautiful world. We want to see it. But sometimes we do have to sit out. Sometimes we have to go to the park or go to the beach instead of flying across the country to see something differently. And that's just the reality of our situation. Until we can get to where we want to be, we have to do what we got to do.
So to wrap it all up, my best advice to all of you, and I try to follow my own advice pretty religiously, is be real conscious of how you're spending your money. Think about those things that you desire to have 2 months from now, 2 years from now. Set goals. Come up with a plan on how you'll meet those goals. Keep up with receipts. Know where your money is going and make some decisions, some tough decisions about what you can cut And if you make those cuts, take that same money that you would have spent and put it in a high yield savings account.
I agree. And I also don't forget to invest as well, because you can save all the money you want, but you have to take risks to make more money. And that is the reality of the situation. The richest people did not just save all their money. A lot of them invested in their money. So I took the leap of faith with Merrill and Edge this year. I'm letting them do some investments for me. And I'll do a follow up in 6 months with everybody to see how it's going. But so far, I'm okay with it. Like, I learned a little bit about investing when I took international financial management. So I'm just excited to see where it'll go.
I really think investment could be its own topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely when we talk about real estate too, because that's one of the biggest ways that people become rich.
Yeah.
So I need to get on that wave eventually. But
Yeah.
like I said, right now it's the focus on budgeting.
Yeah.
By 32, I'll have it together. So the last thing before we end today, next episode, we're going to introduce two more segments. One will be called Judging You, which is where we are going to give our advice that we talked about earlier in the season. Like, yes, we will be judging ourselves, but if you want to reach out and get advice from us and need any help, if you think we could help you, reach out and we will talk about it. And then the other segment is going to be listening to you. And I'm very excited about this because I love movies, I love music, I also love books. So it'll be good to talk about what we're watching, what we're listening to, and that's why it's listening to you. So hopefully you'll tune in episode 4 to get a taste of that. And we'll see you next time on the pod.
See you next time.
Have a great day.